I feel like it's just going to become more and more mainstream. People are going to get more and more used to it the more they do it, and I just feel like it's just going to be considered just wrestling in general in the future. I don't think people are going to refer to it as intergender wrestling anymore. They're just going to see it as something that happens all the time.
Joining me now is one of the greatest Impact knockouts of all time. She is Thick Mama Pump. She is the pretty and powerful Miss Jordynne Grace. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, of course, and I think you're you're putting me very high up there, but thank you so much.
Well, in a short time with Impact Wrestling, you've accomplished a lot. What do you feel like are some of your greatest achievements since you've been with the promotion?
I think my greatest achievement was winning the Knockout title from the Knockout who held the title for the longest period of time ever in history, which was Taya. So that was a really big one for me. And I also got to compete in the X Division, which has always been a big dream of mine. And last but not least, I've become tag team champions with Rachael Ellering. And I've been successful in a tag team with her for a minute now.
When you talked about teaming with Rachael, how's that experience been for you? I mean, it seems like it's strange because you're both very young, but it's almost like she kind of, you sort of took her under your wing in Impact Wrestling.
I love Rachael. I feel like we hit it off right away. She's kind of the opposite of me. She smiles all the time. She's very optimistic, pretty much 24/7. So I think we balance each other out a bit.
I'm going to put you on the spot here with this question, but because I know you don't want to, and you mentioned Taya earlier, but who have been your greatest rivals in Impact?
In Impact, Taya was definitely probably, if not one of the biggest ones, the biggest one. And then I know that me and Deanna's feud was short-lived, but she's definitely very high up there as well.
Who are some competitors that you've never had the chance to face that you would love to be in the ring with?
At Impact or otherwise?
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world. Oh, well, I think I mentioned this a few times, but Layla Hirsch from AEW, I think she's amazing. We have kind of a similar background. I know we both did some amateur wrestling in the past, and we kind of have the same style, so I feel like that would be really good. And also another big one is Sheeta from AEW. I feel like we would really mesh well.
You talked about competing in the X Division, and you've been involved with intergender wrestling in the past. You've actually captured belts that were traditionally considered male titles. Where do you feel like intergender wrestling is headed in the future?
I feel like it's just going to become more and more mainstream. People are going to get more and more used to it the more they do it, and I just feel like it's just going to be considered just wrestling in general in the future. I don't think people are going to refer to it as intergender wrestling anymore. They're just going to see it as something that happens all the time.
You are well documented as a workout fanatic, and you spoke to me right before we did this interview that said you're getting ready to go to the gym right after we get done. How do you balance that lifestyle, the training and the nutrition that you have to do with your pro wrestling schedule?
So fortunately, especially with the past year and a half of all the COVID stuff that's been going on, my wrestling schedule has been extremely light, so I've been able to just train pretty much nonstop. I was able to compete in a powerlifting competition, which I haven't been able to do in a long time because I've been able to train more than I was before. But it's still kind of like that. I don't take as many independent wrestling bookings. I don't like to be gone, 3 to 4 days a week anymore. I feel like I'm getting older. I know I'm only 25, but I've been doing this for a long time, so I just feel like my training needs to take precedence nowadays.
As I mentioned, you've crossed over and won titles that were traditionally considered men's titles. Could you ever see Jordynne Grace being the Impact World Heavyweight Champion someday?
That is definitely one of my dreams. I would love to do that, or I would love to compete in X Division. Those are both big dreams of mine, and hopefully one day, they'll come to fruition.
And going down that same vein, when it's all said and done, and obviously you are still very young and your career has just really taken off now. I mean, you've accomplished so much, but you still have a long road ahead of you. What are your ultimate goals as a professional wrestler? When it's all said and done, what do you want people to remember you for?
Honestly, I want to be remembered as one of the best wrestlers in the world, male or female. But other than that, personally, I just want to do this as long as I possibly can, and I want this to be the only thing I do for pretty much the rest of my life. This and powerlifting are the only things I want to do. So I just hope to make enough money and a big enough name for myself so that I can just retire at an early age and do whatever I want from here on out.
And this might sound sort of like an out-of-the-box question, but when you're not training and you're not competing, what are your hobbies outside of wrestling?
Honestly, I genuinely don't do anything else. That's kind of sad, but like I go to the gym usually 2 times a day. I don't know if I have time for anything else right now.
No video games, no hobbies, no nothing.
No videos. I love to hang out with my dogs, but I don't think that's considered necessarily a hobby. But yeah, no video games, nothing like that really.
In the past, you've actually written a book about how people kind of sent you some weird messages online, and I will definitely make sure that we promote that book because it's fantastic. And it's really an eye-opening experience to see. What would you say to young girls who are being bullied, or what advice would you give to young fans who look up to you?
That are being, okay, so just so I have your question right, that are being bullied in general, or that are getting the messages that I was getting, or have been getting?
Well, I read your book, the book that you put out a few years ago about the tweets that you're receiving, like the social media stuff, and it was just kind of bizarre, like eye-opening, you know, like, and that's the only way I could put it because I didn't realize that. And now, as someone who's a father of 4 daughters, it was kind of like, hey, you know, this lady stepped up and said, this is really going on. You know, this really happens. And I don't think a lot of people appreciate that. I think it was again, I hate to use the term eye-opening experience again, but something that I didn't realize. And I think that you kind of illuminated that.
So, instead of the word bullying, I would definitely use the word sexual harassment, because I feel like that is more so the kind of messages that I was getting and that I put in the book and, you know, have been receiving for a very long time. But for any young women that have come into contact with that kind of thing, especially like over social media, you can go one of 2 routes. You can completely ignore it and don't give them the attention, because sometimes that's all these guys are looking for, is just the attention. They want to know that you've read their message. So that's obviously one of the ways to go about it. The second way is, sometimes I do this probably a little bit too often, but I like to just call people out in general. So if they have a public profile, I will, you know, find people that they know and be like, hey, look, this person's sexually harassing me, just so you know. And sometimes, you know, they reap what they sow. This is the consequences of sexually harassing someone online. And a lot of the times that works too. So they can definitely go one of 2 ways.
Who gave you the best advice that you have ever gotten as you were coming up as a professional wrestler?
The best advice? You know, the best advice that I got wasn't from a wrestler. It was actually from my mom, who, you know, she's been with me since the very beginning. She's always supported me in my wrestling career, and she always told me to do whatever I needed to do to make it in the business, and that's what I did. And she basically taught me to stay true to myself and my own values. She let me move to St. Louis, Missouri to pursue a career in wrestling when I was 17. So she's just my biggest supporter, and she's definitely the one that's given me the best advice over the years.
I'm from the St. Louis area. I didn't know that you trained there.
I didn't train there, actually. I moved there to try to get into Shimmer Wrestling. I trained in Austin, Texas.
I see. I guess, you know, going back to that same topic, you know, you've got this reputation for being such a tough girl. You know, what would you say to your fans and the people that supported you through all these years? I
would say thank you for sticking with me. And I could not do any of this without them. I appreciate everything so much. There's so much negativity in the world that the people that do support me, that means so much to me.
And I know that right now Bound for Glory is a few weeks away, but what can we expect to see from Jordynne Grace at Bound for Glory? You can give us spoilers if you want.
Well, I would give you a spoiler if I knew anything, but I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm on the show, if I have a match. I don't know anything yet, but I am anxiously waiting, and hopefully next week at the Impact tapings, I will find out.
Well, Jordynne, I want to thank you so much for your time. You are truly one of the greatest competitors in professional wrestling today, a true lady and a professional, and I thank you so much for spending time with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ryan.